Hello and welcome everyone to today's panel entitled Overcoming Bias. My name is Elisabeth and I'm a career consultant from the University Career Center. I will be your host for today's programming and we are pleased that you are joining us today. I put a slide to talk briefly about Teams virtual session attendee guidelines. This event will be recorded. Please mute your mics and turn off your cameras unless you're speaking during the Q&A section. And you can also use the chat function in the Teams session to ask questions before the Q&A session. Please keep comments and questions respectful, and there is also closed captioning available. If you hover over to the video, click the three dots and click turn on live captions. And we have four panelists today, and they will introduce themselves a little later as well. And we have an agenda. So we will have three sections and panelists talking about their services, Gender Center, Multicultural Center, and International Student Scholar Services. And then we have some questions from facilitator and Q&A section. All right, and I will let the panelists introduce themselves.
Hi, I am Matthew Windsor-Johns. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm very excited to be with you all today. I'm the Assistant Director for LGBT plus programs in our Gender Center.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Destiney Tolbert. I serve as the Assistant Director of Student Success and Outreach in the Multicultural Center. I am glad to be here, so thank you for having me.
Hi, my name is Elisabeth Walker, and I'm an Associate Director in the International Student and Scholars Office in the area of Advising and Programming Services.
Hello, I'm Shawn Stewart. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm the Advising Services Specialist for the ISSO.
Thank you so much for introducing yourself.
All right. Hello, everybody. So I'm very glad to be with you. Once again, my name is Matt, and I'm representing the Galerstein Gender Center. Just in case you don't know, we're located on the 4th floor of the Student Services Building, 4.300, right next to like the Dean of Students, Counseling Center, the Health Center, Center for Students in Recovery. We would love for you to come up and see what we have to offer for you. But just in case you're not able to make it up or you don't know about us, we're going to do this presentation for you so you know a little bit more. And thank you so much for running the slides. You're amazing. Next slide. We'll go to that one. So you might have a very good question. You know, what is a gender center? What do you do? I went ahead and put up our official mission statement here for you. I'll go ahead and read it for everybody. The Galerstein Gender Center, under the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, is a campus resource that fosters an affirming and inclusive environment by advocating for LGBT plus and gender equity through diversity initiatives of education, advocacy, programs, and services. So that's a very fancy way of saying we really advocate for LGBTQ plus people and also women and femme people here on the campus. So students, faculty, and staff. So we'll go to the next slide. So I'm going to give you an overview of GGC Services. This is not an all-inclusive list. This is just some examples that hopefully guide you a little bit about who we are and what we do. So some of the services we don't necessarily do ourselves, but we advocate with the university to make sure that they're available. So for starters, the gender neutral restrooms map. This is something that we have worked with the university to change all 54 single stall restrooms to a gender inclusive sign. So if you have been around campus and you see a picture of a toilet on a single stall restroom, just know that those used to be gendered for no reason. But we are very happy to advocate with the university to change that because there was no reason for them to be gendered. We also have a resource collection. We're not allowed to say library, but it's pretty much a library that has a bunch of gender equity and LGBTQ plus books. So these are books you're not going to just necessarily find anywhere. We have ordered them from special places. Donors have given us money to specifically purchase these books. So if you would like to purchase or If you would like to rent those for free, you get them for 2 weeks at a time. They're available to you for free for students, faculty, and staff. We have pregnant and parenting resources, which my colleague Jacqueline Prince, she's amazing. You should meet her. She handles all of our pregnant and parenting resources to make sure if you are pregnant or you're a parent here at this university, while you're a student, your staff, or faculty, we want you to know what is available to you. The next one very closely ties with that a lot of the times, are lily pad lactation facilities. Jacqueline says this, and I think it's so perfect. You don't eat your lunch in the restroom, and we don't expect our babies to do that either. So please know that there are lactation spaces on campus. There are currently 7. Hopefully in the near future, there will be even more. Preferred name and gender marker changes. So you're allowed to change your name in the system and or your gender marker, which gender marker currently, until we get this changed, is male and female. In our university systems, you do not need legal paperwork to make those changes in our systems. Check out our website to learn more. We have an LGBTQ plus resource guide that really just shows you, if you're a queer student, staff, or faculty member on this campus, how to navigate the campus. Trans and non-binary health resources. We work with our student health insurance plan to make sure people know that you have 80% coverage for a lot of different services if for an in-network doctor and 60% for an out-of-network doctor. And then, of course, last but not least, menstrual equity resources. We are working to try to get the university and student groups together to provide free menstrual products for our students. Very purposely, you notice me not say feminine hygiene or for women, because not just women menstruate. So next slide, I'm going to kind of fly through these just as examples. We have a lot of educational opportunities available to you. Safe Zone Ally Training, which helps you become an ally for the LGBTQ plus community. Culture of Equity, which is a training that focuses on combating sexism on and off campus. And then, of course, our mini workshops. So if you're a part of a student group or in a class, you can request a mini workshop, and we would love to come in and help you learn more inclusive language. Next, we have LGBTQ plus programs. I'm not going to list or name all of them right now because I want you to be able to read these and take these in. But I will say this coming Monday, October 11th, at the SSA Gaming Wall, the Student Services Edition, that big gaming wall with the huge screen, we're going to meet there for National Coming Out Day. And a lot of our LGBTQ plus affirming groups are going to be there to help you learn more about how you can get involved on campus. It is not just for our queer identified students, staff, and faculty, it's for allies as well to come and listen to people tell their coming out stories. Lastly, we just did an event called Getting Briefed, which we provided sustainable menstrual boxers, briefs, and cups. I didn't put the cups on here, I apologize. A free giveaway for 50 of our students. It filled up immediately, and I guess sold out is the best term to describe that. So it shows the need that's there for our campus. Next slide, we talk about gender equity programs. So we have a book club, different communities. We focus on equal pay days. The menstrual product giveaways are also relevant here. And of course, March is Women's History Month, so we're going to be honoring and celebrating that. And yeah, so if you want to be a part of all those events, you can actually obtain a certificate called the GGC Equity Excellence Program Certificate. And you can see the different columns here. If you attend one event in each column, you actually get this certificate, which is great for your resume, but more importantly, to show that you have a commitment to equity across campus and in your future job. And then next slide, I very, very purposely, this is the non-discrimination policy. You might say, why is this a slide? I very purposely highlighted, in addition, the university's commitment to equal opportunity extends its non-discrimination protections to include sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression where not protected by applicable law. So this is really important because the reason why the Gender Center exists is to help enforce and let people know that this policy exists on campus for every student, faculty, and staff member. It's very rare that a university actually includes gender identity and gender expression in their non-discrimination policy. Currently, I only know about 250 universities in the entire nation out of 4,000 plus universities that include this. So congrats, UT Dallas is one of them. And then our next slide, we love to brag on this, but more importantly, to say our work is not done to help our queer identified students, faculty, and staff on campus. That's why panels like this are so important. But we are currently ranked the #1 most LGBT plus friendly university in the state of Texas of the 12 universities that have submitted to the Campus Pride Index. And it's not on this slide, but we are actually number 19 in the entire nation based on Campus Pride and bestcolleges.com latest rankings. So that's an exciting ranking. It's something to really brag about our university, especially being in Texas, where when we talk about LGBTQ plus issues, equity issues, they're not always very positive. Today in the Texas legislature, they are debating whether trans people can play sports, which is heart-wrenching. So that's why it's important to have a safe haven even here in Texas, where queer people feel included, accepted, and affirmed. And then to end our slideshow, I believe, yes, this is our last slide. So I just told you a lot in a very quick time, but we want you to be a part of the change. And even though we have this great ranking and all these great programs and initiatives, we still have a lot of work to do. We are still in Texas. So if you would like to be part of LGBTQ plus and gender equity changes on campus for the better, our email is right there, our phone number, and our location. So please, no matter what stage in your allyship that you are at, let us know. We would love to help. Thank you so much for including the Gender Center, and thanks for attending today's presentation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And next we have Multicultural Center.
Yes, we do. All right. So again, my name is Destiney Tolbert. I serve as the Assistant Director of Student Success and Outreach in the Multicultural Center. Again, thank you so much for having me. So I wanted to just kind of let you all know that the Multicultural Center is a part of, used to be called the Office of Diversity and Community Engagement. We do have a new name now. It is called the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, so ODEI for short. And we provide, we're a part of 3 other departments here on campus alongside with the Gender Center. And so we provide leadership, resources, and services to our UTD Dallas community as we act as a support for enhancing our diversity programs campus-wide. Next slide. I did want to address what our mission and vision is within the Multicultural Center. We ultimately are committed to providing a variety of cultural programs, educational resources, leadership opportunities, and also support services that really enhance the ability of our students where they're able to achieve success in their academic, personal, and work lives. And then there is our vision where we try to look forward to treating each other with civility, dignity, and respect, regardless of any differences, which will prepare our students for a global diverse society. So this is our space. If you've ever been in our space, we have 3 areas that our students utilize, and that is our TV lounge, our kitchenette area. We have our study room, computer lab, and then also the conference room. We are located on the 2nd floor of the SSB building in room suite 2400. And so you're welcome to stop by, visit us. Right now, we are currently only taking students for appointment only. So you would have to reserve a space. So we have a reservation. We have a reservation schedule that is on our website, on our homepage, that you can click on and reserve a space and use any of those spaces, like our TV lounge, our study room, or our computer lab for those spaces. So if you're interested in using our space, you do have to reserve a time in a day. Next slide. Awesome. So we are comprised of 3 areas of focus, and that is cultural celebrations, student success and outreach, and then also lastly, diversity education. First, I wanted to kind of just talk about cultural celebrations, and we can, I will say within this area, it provides and celebrates a variety of cultures and promotes diversity and inclusion here at UT Dallas. These are some of the signature events that we host annually throughout the year. One of them I will point out is our kickoff Welcome Back Block Party. This event usually occurs the night before first day of classes, where it serves to bring diverse students together. There's a live DJ, there's dancing, there's chances to win free swag as well. There's also our Hispanic Heritage Month. So this is a month full of culture through dance, conversation, cuisine, and then also conversation is more conversation. We also have another event that we do that is called our Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. This is a true birthday celebration honoring Dr. King's legacy. So this event includes a big breakfast, exciting entertainment, and amazing speakers as well. Again, they do a lot of events through our area of cultural celebrations like Lunar New Year, that's usually held in February. We have Black History Month, that's usually held in January. And then also our European Heritage Celebration, Asian Heritage Celebration as well. And then lastly, our multiracial programming. So a lot of exciting events you definitely want to be involved in and learn more about on our website. Student success and outreach, this is more of an area that I oversee. And so within this area, really our goal is to support our students within a smaller ethnic community here on this campus with programming, services, and overall just supporting students during their academic journey. We want to simply be that place for students to connect to resources, opportunities, and just find that community here on campus. Some of the programming that we do within student success and outreach is our leadership development, such as our student conference on Latino affairs, and then also our Southwestern Black Student Leadership Conference. These are conferences that we take our students to a conference there in College Station, which is Texas A&M University. So these are usually held, SCOLA, which is usually held in the spring, in April, and then Southwestern Black Student Leadership, usually held in January. We also have Hispanic Leadership Banquet, and then our Harambe Dinner and Awards, which is more of our end of the year programs. So our student organizations get a chance to really just celebrate their academic achievements, the campus involvement, honor, their members with leadership excellence. So that's a time for them to get dressed and get fancy and eat really good food as well. Another event that I wanted to mention is our Multicultural Achievement Ceremony. We are able to on this day, celebrate the academic achievement of our graduating seniors and cultural groups. So this ceremony is a rewarding experience for our students. We connect with Academic Bridge Program, Cultural Scholars, and then also Diversity Scholars Program, and then our Undergraduate Success Scholars Program as well in honoring these students as seniors, graduating seniors. Awesome. So another area that we oversee within the area of student success and outreach is our WISE, Women in Social Engagement, so Women of Color Discussion Group. This group meets bi-weekly. It is a space for women and women identified students of color. In this space, participants are welcome to engage in authentic discussion of all topics related to anything such as race, relations, gender equality, social media, self-esteem, body image, racism, career development, in anything from like dating or relationships. Other programming that we do within this area is we do advising and coaching with our students, and then we also have a faculty and staff committee task force group that ultimately they're called African American Student Success Task Force, and then our Latinx Student Success Network. So these groups ultimately consist of staff and faculty who serve to really just address the needs of underrepresented minority students here on campus. Next slide. Awesome. And then our last area here within the Multicultural Center is our diversity education. So a lot of the programs within this area is interactive presentations, activities really designed to educate our students on various diversity topics. So a lot of these programs are delivered in the form of presentations, activities, and then also dialogues as well. I will point out that our diversity dialogue series is one popular program that we put on annually. This event is where students get to know members of the UTD community. It's an engaging, interactive, facilitated discussion. So it's open to students, staff, faculty, and community members. And then lastly, we have our spring workshop series as well. And a lot of these are usually held in the spring semester. So topics really include advocacy and then also allyship, action, knowing there's no role, and then many more programs that we host. We also do e-learning. So there's Diversity 101 online module. And then we also provide a variety of online resources as well on our diversity education website. So definitely check us out for diversity education. And again, we are open here in the Multicultural Center. Our hours right now are Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 5:30, and then Friday, 8:30 to 5 p.m. Here on the second floor of the SSB building. So come and visit us and say hello.
Thank you so much, Destiny, and we will move to our International Students and Scholars Office.
Okay, absolutely. My name is Elisabeth Walker. I am an Associate Director in the International Student and Scholars Office. And Shawn is here with me. He is an Advising Services Specialist. We are a large office that services a large international student population. We provide all the immigration advising services and programming services, and also process student requests for immigration documents for UTD's F1 student population and J1 student population. And F1 and J1 are our student visa categories. We have a team that supports prospective students, and then a team that supports current and alumni. And we serve students up to 3 years after their graduation when they are on work authorization related to their immigration status. Right now, all of our advising services are virtual. We have a variety of online options for students. They can schedule appointments through Microsoft Teams. We have a live chat that we do, and they can submit questions to us. They also upload all of their requests for immigration documents online. And however, our lobby is now open. So if students want to come in and chat with us or have a question, they can definitely come in our lobby and see us and ask questions. And that is an overview of our services. And I will now hand it over to Shawn.
All right, thank you, Lissa. If we can have the next slide, please. So we have a much shorter presentation here, but what I really wanted students to walk away with, I don't know if we have any international students in the meeting today or who might be watching this later, but we just wanted to touch on, how can you reach out to us and how can you get information? Because I think that's, kind of the most common thing, especially for new students here at the start of the fall semester. We just had about 2,000 new students start, and we serve about a little under 9,000 students total. So with that large of a population, it's really helpful to know, how to reach out to us, because there's a lot, right? We do a lot of advising, a lot of talking with students. So you see the link on your screen, issa.utdallas.edu/advising. Something I want all of our students to know is that the ISSO website is a treasure trove of resources, information, step-by-step how-to guides to do pretty much anything you're going to need to do with your immigration status at UTD. So for any students who are out there wanting to know, right now the big question is, how do I apply for OPT? Which, for those of you not in the international world, is our work authorization after graduation. Um, it's out there, it's right there for you to go and see that and be able to get started on the process. So for all of the students I work with, I say the first thing you should do if you have a question is go to our website. That's going to be the fastest way to get your answer most of the time. But if you have something more complex or if it's not answered on the website, we are happy to talk with you. I think for a lot of us, that's kind of the highlight of our day is getting to work with students. So then the question sometimes becomes, what's the fastest way to talk to an ISSO advisor? So the fastest way to talk directly to an advisor is going to be our live chat service. This is available right now on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Although those hours may change, we may expand that in the future. So you can go to this link that's on the site, on the slide here, to see our most current advising services and access live chat and a variety of other things. So our goal with that is that you should never have to wait more than a day or two to get your immigration question answered. Um, if you miss live chat on Monday, then there's going to be another one on Wednesday, and we can have those conversations then. So live chat's going to be the fastest way. For students who are new students who are admitted, current students who are here and studying, or students on OPT who have already left us, but they're still in the US and we're still maintaining your immigration record, you can reach out directly through the iComment portal. So everyone should have their iComment portal. You use your NetID and password to log into that. And there's a button on the left-hand side that says Ask an Advisor. That's how you can send us a message if you want to do that. Um, it's helpful to know that we don't really do email advising. If you email us, you're probably not going to get an immigration answer. You're going to get something that says, hey, please reach out through live chat or through iComment. And that's just so that we can help get you answers faster. So go through your portal. We also offer scheduled appointments, and those are really great if you have really complex issues that we need to talk through. If multiple things are changing or you just have a lot of questions, you're really not sure about the next steps, then a scheduled appointment is a great time to sit down with an advisor and really talk in detail. We also have a phone number, which is handled by our trained student workers who can help check on your status of your requests, anything like that, and kind of help direct you if you're not sure where to go. So the way this ties in with today's session, which is all about overcoming bias, is we want you to know that we're here to support you um, with anything dealing with that, right? So the ISSO handles immigration documents. We do a lot of paperwork, right? A lot of bureaucratic stuff, but we're also here and fairly often support students who might be having issues in the workplace, issues with employers and how to report employment on OPT, and kind of that intersection between maintaining your immigration status and negotiating with employers and navigating the American workplace. And bias comes into that quite a bit. I don't think any of us can escape that. So just know that you can reach out to the ISSO anytime, whether you're a student with a question, an F1 student, J1 student, or scholar, or if you're a staff member helping someone out and you just need some more information. We are here for that. And I think that's what we had.
Thank you so much. All right, now we will move to discussion topics. So we have 5 questions on this slide. and anyone who feels more comfortable can start. So you can either answer the first question, or you can pick other question that would be fine as well. Let's start with, what is bias and what does it mean to you?
So I don't mind going first. Just get it out of the way, right? So to me, biases are like negative stereotypes that we hold about like certain groups that become really embedded in our brains over time. We often act on our biases without our, conscious awareness. They are associations in terms of like habits, traits, characteristics that we, link to particular groups. And so we really rely on our biases to help us navigate and make like quick decisions. So I feel like everyone has biases. Some biases that I have may seem lighthearted to me, but can be harmful if acted upon, right? So, for example, I may think something in my head like, why is a person talking like that? And conclude that, they must be weird. In reality, this person could have been like the nicest person I may have ever met. But because I automatically made a judgment about that person and chose not to really engage, I missed out on just, that potential valuable connection. Or take for another example, I may have thought to myself that because someone is quiet, in class, they are socially awkward. I could go on, about judgments that have been made that may not be true. However, I do think it is in our human nature to have these biases. It is whether we recognize them and how we act on them that really matters most.
I love what you just said, because I think one of the most important things we can do as humans is recognize that even if we feel like we're the best ally to a group, we have different biases that we hold, and that we were raised with. It's I remember seeing some movie. They were like, adult life is you're trying to undo everything that happened to you in your childhood, which it was said more beautifully than that. I just butchered it. But I think that's so true. You hear things from parents, from grandparents, from adults in our lives, from people that you encounter, magazines, TV shows, and whether you know it, like it or not, you ingest these. And I know for me, I put in the chat, bias is any sort of barrier. And I think it manifests itself in a lot of different ways, but I'm thinking in the professional world, just being a part of different interview panels and being on the other side of that, sometimes you hear, oh, you're not the best fit. That's kind of our go-to when we don't know how to articulate, or actually not all the times, but sometimes encountering a bias that we have and we don't want to admit it. That's the thing about discrimination, especially here in the southern states. We don't like to always say exactly what we're feeling. Sometimes we'll say, oh, bless their heart, they're just not a fit for the team. And that's very coded, right? And I think it's so important, and I'm probably jumping questions here, but it's important for us to challenge those. Why are they not a good fit? If you can't articulate that answer, it's most likely a bias that someone is projecting on somebody else. So a barrier of any sort that prevents a person, like Destiney was saying, from you getting to know them, from them getting a job, from them even being admitted to the university. So there's a lot of different ways this manifests itself.
Does anyone else want to add anything to this question? All right, we can go to the next one. When it comes to inclusion, how do you foster an environment where people who come from different backgrounds know you value their ideas?
I'll jump on this one just to start us off. I think one way that we can do that is by educating ourselves about different cultures, different kinds of people, and then, taking that into consideration. So a really good example of that is, within the International Center, we're very aware that many of our students come from different backgrounds. Many of our students are Muslim. And so when we have events, we make sure that there are vegetarian options, maybe don't go with the pork. Like you want to have food that is inclusive, that people can, can fully participate in the event, being aware of major holidays and things that might affect people's availability, or during Ramadan, having a little extra grace with people who may be fasting. All of those things I think are examples of kind of walking the walk that make it really clear to folks that they don't have to ask. It's not a special accommodation. It's baked into your organization, that we're aware people have different backgrounds and we're going to respect that and make space for that.
I will add to that here in the International Student and Scholars Office, we have a unique environment where, as Shawn said, we support students from all over the world, from many different cultures, and we also have an extremely diverse staff. So I think what is important is to educate ourselves on the cultures that our students come from, educate ourselves on the diversity among our staff, and to try to be as open-minded, understanding, and supportive as possible, even if our life experience or perspective on anything is different, to be affirming, open-minded, and non-judgmental.
Absolutely. I have to agree with you as well, Shawn. And I think what's really important too is that, fostering an inclusive environment, right? So, involving deep listening to those who might come from like that different background, right? So I think too, like you said, it's important to remain open-minded, to really fully embrace diversity. Really at the very core of like creating, an inclusive environment is simply respecting everyone's dignity and humanity. When someone's dignity is being violated, I feel like it's important that we speak out, because silence is violence. And when these issues arise, we should, intervene from a place of love, but be, clear about how the offense is not okay, right? And I think another point I will make is that working to, achieve an inclusive, equitable environment does not mean that we treat everybody the same. So some people may require more attention or like a different level of resources than others. So especially like in a light of history of this country, right? So for example, I may decide to take a student group out for, lunch to understand how I can better support their, academic journey and ensure their success. I think it's just really important that we work to achieve, an inclusive environment for all of our students, and understanding that not everybody's the same.
I feel like everybody already said amazing things. The only thing I'll add is sometimes we forget that diversity and inclusion are two different things. Just because we have diverse students doesn't mean that this place is always inclusive. So I think it's important to really look at the definition of the word at hand, like, okay, inclusion, including people. Like, including people means affirming them, whether you know a lot about their identities or not. And I think the most important thing I think that Shawn mentioned is educating yourself and not relying on other people to do that for you. We, especially being on the staff side, we are talking about how important higher education is, right? It's so important, but sometimes, myself included, I forget, wait, I should be a forever learner as well. Like, that's an important thing. So there's a lot of reputable sites, important word, reputable, that you can educate yourself. And wow, Shawn was giving wonderful examples about like Ramadan. And, for me, that's something I'm like, oh, I don't think I know much about that. Let me look into it. Oh, let me avoid trying to do an event during that, or don't ask people why they're not eating. And, that's where the educating yourself piece really comes in.
Thank you. Mentors tend to be very important. Did you have a mentor in your life that helped you embrace your true self?
Can I start this one really quick? I'll be very quick, I swear. So I had mentors, but not when I'm a gay person and I grew up in a very conservative area of Oklahoma. I did not have any queer mentors. Not that there weren't any available. I wasn't in a place to seek them out, but also there weren't a lot of people making themselves known. So it, of course, depends on where you are and what time you're in as well. But I did have wonderful mentors, but I do wish I had more queer focused mentors.
Yeah, so I do believe that mentors are very important. I will say this quote from a boss of mine: if you're going to be in a room, be useful. And this again is advice my first boss ever gave me. And he was also like a professional mentor in my life. It's advice I've taken to heart. And it has really helped me to grow and experience success as a professional in higher education. As a mentor to students in my lifetime, I would encourage listeners to, never give up on things you're passionate about, never surrender to something that, does not seem or feel right, just because it, may make someone else happy. Being really true to yourself, and being true, like I've noticed, like being true to myself and deciding to bring my, authentic self to the table every single day is a big decision. It is, but one that I will never regret. So I will leave that with that.
I think the only thing I would add here is that mentors can be very important, but also we don't all find mentors. We don't have mentors throughout every, season of our life. So I think community support, friends and family, um, there's lots of different ways to get support and to, um, yeah, just to get support in a variety of ways. There's lots of different places. So if you're out there listening and you're thinking, wow, I don't have a mentor, I don't even know where to start looking for a mentor, how does that even work? Um, it's okay too. That is also all right.
So I would add that, like Matt, I also come from Oklahoma, which is a conservative state. And growing up, I had professional and educational mentors, but personally affirming me, being gay and coming out in my late 20s, I didn't have any particular mentors, but I can say that I had a lot of fear of how people would respond to me. And when I did finally come out, my friends and family did surprise me mostly by just continuing to accept me as me, and not treat me differently or label me because I shared my sexual orientation, which was really important to me.
Thank you for sharing that. And let's move to the next question. What may be some barriers to valuing diversity, inclusion, and equity?
Gatekeepers. And I think another thing we don't love to admit, maybe we ourselves have been gatekeepers in certain situations. By gatekeepers, I mean someone that either has a very strong bias towards a certain group of people, or blanket statement a certain group of people, like, oh, I would never hire this type of person because blank. It truly is people and their wrong biases sometimes that stand in the way of actual change happening. And I think in our world, sometimes you have to wait for those people to retire, or you have to wait for those people to be let go. And sometimes you're in the waiting game of like, when is this going to change? Because actual change can't happen until this person or these people are removed. So I'm going to use people are barriers. Some people, not all people.
Yeah, I think another barrier is just, the lack of communication, or listening deeply to the other person, right? So especially in the age of social media, we are so good at talking at each other as opposed to seeking to understand the other person's perspective. So that's what I feel is one barrier. Another barrier that stands in the way of progress is resistance, to change. We tend to reject what feels uncomfortable to us. We really have to get to a place where, as society and community, where we are comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? So, being comfortable with being uncomfortable is what I'm trying and lead to progress and ensure that diversity is truly valued. And then lastly, I will say that, our culture needs more empathy. We need to be more able to, put ourselves in each other's shoes. And this really goes back to my original point about the need to seek to understand, not just to be heard.
I think some really great things have been said here, like that. Absolutely, the communication and listening piece, Destiny, I think is so important. I also want to second what Matt brought up about people, and kind of tag on to that. That I think, people, especially people in power, a lot of times can be those gatekeepers. And then on the other side of things, it can be really discouraging if you are trying to be a change maker in the world and you get shut down, right? And it seems like there are these insurmountable uh, barriers to becoming more inclusive, shifting the culture or whatever it is that we're trying to do. So I think also just that discouragement can be a barrier. It's really, it can be easy to, I don't want to say kind of give up, but kind of give up a little bit or give up for a little while. And sometimes that's important to take a step back, take care of ourselves, and then come back to it. So I think, finding your community and finding your people who can help combat the discouragement that comes from just dealing with the society that we are in um, can be an important tool to kind of help get over the barrier. If we're trying to do everything ourselves, that can be really hard. It's a lot easier if you have other people in your corner saying, okay, that didn't work. Well, what else can we do if that's not going to be an option, and kind of keep it going.
I would also add that lack of experience with or exposure to diversity can be a challenge or a barrier. It can be hard to understand someone who is different from you if you have no frame of reference. Maybe you grew up in a small town, sort of an isolated community. If you've never had exposure to vast diversity, it may be hard to embrace or understand diversity. So with that said, I find that it's very important for people to educate themselves when they don't understand another's culture, another's way of living or identity. And there are so many ways to educate yourself by attending trainings or activities on campus, doing a Google search. There are ways to broaden your horizons without having grown up in a diverse environment or having that exposure.
I just wanted to open up some space for questions from our attendees. If there are any questions, feel free to, you can just put them in chat or you can unmute yourself and ask. Feel free to do that. And meanwhile, we can focus on our fifth question. What successful initiatives or best practices has your department identified to overcoming bias issues, policies? And we'll see if we have any questions in the chat.
I was going to mention, no one's, in our experiences, no one has felt comfortable seeking services if they immediately don't feel affirmed for who they are. So when we ask for identifying information, we do a lot of fill in the blanks rather than gender, M or F. We put gender identity, space, for people to self-identify. I think those small changes go a very long way with people.
And there is a question in chat. How can you get past the gatekeepers when they do the hiring?
So layered. I don't know if I have the best answer. I'm looking at our other panelists.
I mean, I don't think I do either. I think that's a hard that's hard to say. I mean, there's a lot of things that, you know, plays a part in hiring. Yeah, I just don't have a response for that.
I think it's a really hard question. But what this brings me back to is a series we did for our international students over the summer. And international students face a lot of different gatekeeping, right? There's the assumptions and biases about them because they're international. And there's also more of the like paperwork gatekeeping where a lot of employers want to know, do you require sponsorship? And if you say yes, which all of our F1 students have to say yes, then automatically you don't get considered at all, right? So kind of a similar thing. And what our speakers over the summer really recommended was, you go around them. If you're applying for a job, if you can have informational interviews, get to know someone in the company, um, put yourself out there on the basis of your skill set and what you want to do, highlighting the stuff you've done. That can be a way where if you get someone within the company that you're trying to get hired at who really wants you, sponsorship, a lot of times becomes not an issue. I think sort of a secondary question there where it's a gatekeeping based on, deep explicit or implicit biases. It may also be a question of, do you want to work there? I know myself as a trans person, if I was hired, interviewing with somewhere where that was clearly an issue they had, I probably would not want to work there. But for various reasons, sometimes we have that privilege of saying, I want or don't want this job, and sometimes we don't. Um, but I think, and the Career Center, I'm sure, has lots of great resources on how to do informational interviews and how to network and how to get to know people and kind of get the inside scoop on the place you want to be at. And if you really want to be there, sometimes there's not backdoor ways, but ways to get buy-in before you're even in the interview process, right?
Thank you so much for insights and for sharing. Right, there is another question in the chat. As there is an enormous range of people's opinions when it comes to bias, equity versus inequity, diversity, inclusion, what is your best advice for interacting effectively when there is clearly a large divide?
When it comes to hiring, I know that wasn't specifically the question. I always focus on the skills of the position. Does the person on this resume or in the interview have the skills that we need for this job? It's hard to get around those. And if they do scoot around those, keep asking questions is so good because you can't be accused of like trying to be rude. It's like, no, I'm just asking questions to gain clarity. If it's in the workplace or in any type of environment, asking questions still applies. Why do you think that? Oh, that felt weird when you said that. What do you mean by that comment? I'll give you a good example. A couple Thanksgivings ago, my grandpa was saying some really problematic things about groups of people. And I came from like a generation of don't question your elders at all. But I was like, you know what? That doesn't sit well with me. And you can still show respect to people, but affirming other groups of people, because respect and affirmations are two different things. I can respect my grandpa, but say, respectfully, I always start sentences like that. Respectfully, I disagree. But why do you think that way? Were you raised that way? Start questioning people. See what they really think.
That is a great answer. I'm going to steal some of that. Wonderful ways to kind of approach that with questioning. Something else that Matt does really well, going to call you in, is kind of bringing it back to like like he did with the presentation, like this is the policy, right? When you have those things to stand on, especially in an employment sort of situation, different people can have different opinions. And at the end of the day, in the workplace, a lot of times we're not here to change people's personal beliefs, even if they're very problematic, but we're here to say this is the standard of behavior that we're going to have in this workplace. And so in other trainings Matt has done, he does a really great job of showing how you can call back into like, well, this is the policy, and this is the behavior that this policy calls for. So when there's a really large divide, that is my default to go back to what is that, what is the actual behavior? People can think whatever they want to think, and that can be, that's sometimes beyond what we're able to address in certain situations, depending on, where we are in an organization and just a variety of factors. Um, but looking at, what behavior are we calling for here, especially in the workplace. When you get into personal interactions, that's a little different.
Thank you so much for sharing all of your insights, information. It was very helpful, and I believe that it will be very relevant and helpful for our students who are attending now or watching this in the recording. Thank you so much for joining today and sharing all the information and insights.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much again, and let us know if you have any questions. There is a QR code which you can scan and submit your feedback about this session, and you can take a look at our websites, which were posted in the chat, and see what kind of programming, events, and services are offered as well. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for attending this event today. All right, have a great day.